My name is Liam, and I've never been very good at explaining my life in a way that sounds impressive. I work construction in a quiet suburb outside Seattle. I wake up early, drink my coffee black, and drive an old truck that rattles when it idles too long. By the end of the day, my hands are rough and my back is tired. I come home to a small apartment that smells faintly like whatever I ate last and sit on a bed that creaks if I turn too fast. It isn't a bad life, it's just a quiet one. For a long time, quiet felt safe. After a while, it started to feel empty. I hadn't been on a date in 2 years. Not because anything terrible happened, no big breakup, no dramatic ending, I just got worn down. The questions always came too fast. Where are you going? What do you want to be? What's the plan? I never had answers that sounded good enough. My life ran on days, not dreams. Work, sleep, bills, repeat. After enough polite rejections and slow fade-outs, I stopped trying. Being alone felt easier than hoping. That's when Maya called. She's been my best friend since high school, the kind of person who doesn't let you disappear without noticing. I was sitting on my bed with my boots still on when her name lit up my phone. She didn't waste time. "You're hiding," she said, "and I'm not letting you." I laughed it off. Told her I was fine. Told her work kept me busy. She didn't believe me. She never does when I lie like that. "One date," she said. "If it's awful, I owe you beer for a month." I tried to say no. I really did. But I was tired of my own excuses. In the end, I agreed, not because I expected anything good to happen, but because I didn't have the energy to keep refusing. The cafe she picked sat at the end of a quiet street. Brick walls, soft lights, the kind of place that felt warmer than it needed to be. I arrived early and chose a table by the window, close enough to the door that leaving would be easy if I needed it to be. I told myself not to expect anything. When she walked in, she paused just inside like she was bracing herself. Shoulder-length brown hair, a loose gray shirt, eyes that moved carefully around the room. She looked like someone who had learned not to take up too much space. "Hi," she said, sitting across from me. "Hi," I answered, standing too fast because my nerves got there first. Her name was Laura. The first few minutes were polite, safe. She told me she was a nurse, burn care. I told her what I did. She listened more than she talked. I noticed she kept adjusting her sleeve, tugging at it like it was a habit she couldn't break. Then she looked at me and took a breath. "I should tell you something," she said. The cafe felt suddenly quieter. I didn't know why, but I knew whatever came next mattered. And I stayed right where I was, waiting to listen. Laura didn't rush. She rolled her sleeve up slowly like she was giving both of us time to prepare. The scars weren't small or faint. They ran along her arm in raised lines, uneven and permanent. Not something you could pretend not to see once they were there. She watched my face closely. "No one wants to date me," she said. Her voice stayed calm, but it sounded practiced, like she'd said it many times before. "Not after they see this." I didn't look away. Not because I was trying to be brave, but because it felt wrong to treat her arm like something I shouldn't see. She waited. I could feel it. Waiting for the shift, the discomfort, the excuse. Instead, I reached out and gently pulled her sleeve back down, not to hide the scars, but to tell her I wasn't studying them. "I'm not leaving," I said. The words came out steadier than I felt, and if I did, that's what I'd regret. She stared at me like she was checking for cracks in my voice, like she expected me to laugh it off or take it back. When I didn't, something in her shoulders softened just a little. "You really want to hear the story?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, "if you're okay telling it." She wrapped both hands around her coffee cup and took a breath that looked heavy. "It happened 4 years ago," she said. "I was living with my parents in Seattle. That night felt normal. Dinner, bad TV, nothing special." Her eyes drifted past me like she was watching it again somewhere behind my head. "I went to bed early. I remember thinking how safe everything felt." She swallowed. Then the alarm went off. The cafe was warm, but I felt cold. She talked about smoke filling the hallway, about waking up confused, about running toward her parents instead of away. Her voice stayed even, but her hands tightened around the cup. "I grabbed the railing," she said quietly. "I didn't know it was burning until my skin stuck to it." I didn't interrupt. This wasn't a story that wanted fixing. I couldn't reach them, she said. The fire was between us. She finally looked at me then. Her eyes were shiny, but no tears fell. They didn't make it. The words settled between us, heavy, real. I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. I just stayed. Laura took another breath, slower this time, like she was pacing herself. I made it outside, she said. Barefoot. Someone wrapped a blanket around me. I tried to run back in, but a firefighter stopped me, held me like I was a kid. She gave a small, tight smile that didn't last. I remember thinking I should be inside with them. I remember thinking I didn't deserve to be the one standing in the street. She looked down at her arm again, even though the sleeve was back in place. The burns were bad, she said. 3rd degree in places. My arm, my shoulder, skin grafts, months of therapy, learning how to move again. She paused, then added, the pain wasn't the worst part. I waited. It was the mirror, she said. Not recognizing myself, avoiding looking, showering with the lights off, long sleeves even in summer. Her fingers traced the rim of the cup like she needed something solid to hold on to. When I finally dated again, it always ended the same, she said. They'd be kind at first, then quiet, then gone. She shrugged, but her jaw was tight. So now I show it early, she said. Before I start hoping, it hurts less when I control it. Something in my chest pulled tight at that. The way she said it sounded too familiar. I'm sorry, I said finally, not for your arm, for having to carry all that by yourself. She looked at me carefully. I don't need pity, she said. I know, I said. I'm angry for you. There's a difference. That stopped her. She didn't answer right away. Then she asked, why are you here, Liam? Not the polite answer. I thought about it. About the years I'd spent telling myself I was fine alone. I got tired, I said, of feeling like I wasn't enough, like my life was too small. Her eyes stayed on me, steady. I stopped dating because it hurt less than being measured all the time, I admitted. But the truth is, I didn't want to be rejected again. She nodded slowly, like she recognized that place. Then why are you still sitting here, she asked. Because you told the truth, I said, and I don't want to walk away from that. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence didn't feel empty. It felt like something settling into place. Laura looked down at the table, then back at me, like she was deciding whether to go one step farther or pull the door shut again. Most people don't leave right away, she said. They leave later, when it gets real. I didn't interrupt. When the nightmares show up, she continued. When I pull back. When I'm not the brave woman with the sad story anymore. Her voice stayed even, but I could hear how close she was to the edge of it. Then don't be brave with me, I said. Just be real. She let out a breath that sounded almost like a laugh, but there was no humor in it. There's another scar, she said quietly. I felt my stomach tighten. Where? Not on my skin, she said, in my head. She told me about waking up in the middle of the night, heart racing, sure the building was on fire again. About smelling smoke that wasn't there. About running to the door without shoes before realizing she was safe. I went to therapy, she said. I did the work. I became a nurse because I wanted it to mean something. She paused. It helps, she said, but it never really leaves. I nodded. I didn't need to understand it completely to know it was real. I push people away when it gets bad, she admitted. I don't want anyone to see me like that. I thought about the nights I sat alone in my apartment convincing myself I didn't need anyone. So you test them, I said softly. You give them a reason to leave before it hurts worse. Her eyes sharpened. Yeah, she said, and I hate that I do it. She hesitated, then asked, what do you want from me? I didn't rush the answer. I can't promise I won't mess up, I said. But I'm not here for a quick story. I'm here because I like you, not the idea of you. She stared at me like she was trying to decide if she deserved that. The cafe had grown quieter, chairs scraped, the barista wiped down the counter. Evening settled around us. Finally, Laura nodded once. Okay, she said. It was a small word, but it felt like a door opening. We didn't talk much about heavy things after that. Not because they were gone, but because we both needed a break from carrying them. We talked about simple stuff. Coffee she liked, fog she loved, rain she hated. I told her I liked my job because you could see what you built at the end of the day. When we stood to leave, I paid without thinking. Outside, the air was cold and damp, the kind that sinks into your clothes. At the bus stop, she hesitated. I don't usually do this, she said. Give someone my number and hope they use it. I smiled. That sounds fair. She handed me her phone. Our hands brushed, and I felt how different we were and how similar at the same time. I had a good time, she said, sounding surprised by it. So did I. She boarded the bus, then looked back and waved. I stood there longer than I needed to, watching the lights disappear. That night, my apartment felt smaller. I sat on my bed and stared at my phone, wondering what the right thing to say was. In the end, I kept it simple. I'm glad I met you today. I'm home safe. She didn't reply that night. By morning, the old feeling crept back in. The one that says this is where it ends. I went to work anyway, lifted boards, hammered nails, laughed when I had to. That evening, my phone buzzed. Rough shift. Mind if we walk? I didn't hesitate. She asked me to meet her at the waterfront trail. Another message followed. If you see me fall apart, please don't get scared. I drove there with my heart pounding harder than it should have. She was already there when I arrived. Her sleeves pulled down, her eyes red. She tried to smile. I'm not okay, she said, but I didn't want to be alone. We walked side by side. The water was dark. The city lights blurred in the mist. I'm tired of being strong, she said. People say it like it's a compliment. She stopped at a bench and stared out at the water. I still feel guilty, she said, like I should have saved them. Then the tears came. I warned you, she said. I'm not always okay. Good, I said softly. Neither am I. And I stayed. Laura sat on the bench with her shoulders curled in like she was trying to make herself smaller. The tears came quietly at first, then heavier, like something she'd been holding back for too long had finally slipped loose. I don't want the logical answers, she said. I know what people say. I just want it to stop hurting. I sat beside her, leaving enough space that she didn't feel trapped. I didn't reach for her right away. I just stayed close. I've been hiding too, I said after a moment. 2 years now. Not because I like being alone, but because I'm scared someone will look at my life and decide it's not enough. She turned toward me, surprised. I'm scared, I admitted, but I'm here. She searched my face like she was waiting for me to pull back. When I didn't, her breath slowed. You meant it, she said. I did. She pushed her sleeves up again. Not like a challenge, more like exhaustion. I hate these, she said, what they remind me of. I looked at her arm, then at her face. They don't make you less, I said. They show you survived. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I feel ugly. I moved slowly, giving her time. When I placed my hand on her forearm, she didn't pull away. I want you, I said, not to fix you, not to save you, just to be with you. Her forehead rested against my shoulder. She cried there, quietly, and I held still. When she pulled back, her eyes were swollen, but something in them had softened. What if I fall apart again, she asked. Then we take it one day at a time, I said, just tomorrow, then the next. She nodded. Friends? She asked, almost like she needed permission. Friends, I said. Her hand slid into mine, cold from the rain, steady in her grip. We walked back toward the bus stop together, not rushing. Thank you, she said, for not making me feel like I'm too much. You're real, I said. That's not too much. She stepped onto the bus, then turned back. Don't disappear, she said. I won't. And I meant it. After the bus pulled away, I stood there a moment longer than I needed to. Rain dotted my jacket. The water moved in slow, dark ripples. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel the urge to run back to my quiet apartment and shut the door on the world. The days that followed weren't dramatic. They were ordinary in the best way. A short text in the morning, a walk after a late shift, coffee on a rainy afternoon. Sometimes Laura talked easily. Sometimes she went quiet. When she did, I didn't try to fill the space. I stayed. There were nights she didn't sleep. Nights she woke up shaking, smelling smoke that wasn't there. She warned me when it happened. I didn't pretend to know how to fix it. I just sat with her until her breathing slowed. Sometimes that was enough. She warned me too when she needed space. Not because she didn't care, but because caring scared her. I learned to hear the difference. I learned that staying didn't always mean holding on tight. Sometimes it meant giving room without leaving. I had my own moments, days when work felt endless, when I looked at my life and wondered if it would ever grow into something bigger. Laura listened then. She didn't try to push me toward dreams I didn't have. She liked the steadiness, the showing up, the way my hands told the story of my days. One evening, months later, we sat on her porch wrapped in old blankets, watching the light fade. She rested her arm against mine, scars and all, like it was the most natural thing in the world. "You stayed," she said quietly. "So did you," I answered. She smiled at that, a real one this time. "I don't know what the future looks like. I still don't have a 5-year plan. What I have is tomorrow, and someone who understands that some days, surviving is enough." When she said no one wanted to date her, she was really asking if someone would stay once the truth showed up. I didn't answer with promises. I answered by sitting down and not moving. Sometimes love doesn't arrive loud. Sometimes it just pulls up a chair and listens. If this story settled into you for a moment, don't rush away. There's always another quiet truth waiting just beyond the porch.